April 18th, 1955. One 1:15 a.m. Princeton Hospital, New Jersey. The greatest mind humanity has ever known stops thinking. Albert Einstein is dead. But 7 hours later, in a cold, sterile room, something unthinkable happens. A scalpel cuts through bone. A brain is lifted from its skull. No permission, no consent, no family approval, just silence, and a decision that would haunt the medical world for decades. This is the story of the man who stole Einstein's brain, and the dark obsession that drove him to do it. Einstein wasn't just a scientist. He was the architect of reality itself. The man who looked at the universe and saw what no one else could see. Time wasn't constant. Space could bend. Energy and matter were two sides of the same coin. E equals mc squared. For symbols that changed everything. By the time he died at 76, Einstein had become more than human in the public imagination. He was a symbol, a prophet of physics, the living proof that genius existed. And if genius exists, can it be measured? Can it be found? Can it be stolen? The world wanted answers. Science demanded them. And one man was willing to break every rule to find them.
We measure the speed of thought, the complexity of the connections. We are, in essence, measuring genius.
Princeton Hospital, 8 a.m. The body lies on a steel table beneath fluorescent lights. Dr. Thomas Harvey stands over it, alone. He's the pathologist on duty, 42 years old, unremarkable career, quiet man. But today, he holds history in his hands. The autopsy is routine. Cause of death, internal bleeding from an aortic aneurysm. Einstein had refused surgery. He'd said his famous words just days before. I want to go when I want. It is tasteless to prolong life artificially. He was ready, but Dr. Harvey was not, because as he stood there, staring at the open skull, he made a choice that would define the rest of his life. He looked around the empty room. No witnesses, no cameras, just him, and the most famous brain in history. And he took it. Harvey didn't ask permission. He didn't call Einstein's family. He simply removed the brain, weighted 1,230 grams, slightly below average, and placed it in a jar of formaldehyde. Then he closed the skull, finished the autopsy, signed the paperwork, and walked out. When Einstein's son, Hans Albert, arrived later that day, his father's brain was already gone. Harvey would later claim he had implied permission, that preserving the brain was for the benefit of science, for humanity. But the truth, he acted on impulse, on obsession, on the belief that inside that 3-pound organ was the secret to genius itself. And he wasn't alone in that belief. The world was watching. For centuries, scientists had wondered, what makes a genius? Is it something you can see, measure, dissect? In the 19th century, they weighed brains. They measured skulls. They searched for patterns in the folds and grooves of gray matter. Most of it was pseudoscience, dangerous even. But Einstein's brain? That was different. This wasn't about proving superiority or inferiority. This was about understanding the mind that had unlocked relativity, that had glimpsed the fabric of spacetime. If genius had a structure, it would be here. Harvey believed that, So he sectioned the brain into 240 pieces. He prepared slides. He photographed every angle. Then he sent samples to the best neurologists in the world. And he waited. Years passed. Decades. What did they find? Not much. One study claimed Einstein's brain had more glial cells, support cells for neurons, in certain regions. Maybe that meant better connectivity, better processing. Another found unusual patterns in the parietal lobes, areas linked to mathematical reasoning and spatial awareness. But nothing definitive. Nothing that screamed genius. Because genius, it turns out, isn't just biology. It's curiosity, imagination, obsession, the very things you can't see under a microscope. But here's the question no one wanted to ask. Did Harvey have the right? Einstein had been clear. He wanted to be cremated. No grave, no shrine, no cult of personality. He didn't want his body turned into a spectacle. Yet that's exactly what happened. For decades, Harvey kept the brain. In jars, in boxes, in the trunk of his car. He lost his job. His marriage fell apart. He drifted across the country, carrying pieces of Einstein with him like sacred relics. Some called him a thief. Others called him a guardian. But the real question is deeper. When does a person's body stop being theirs? When does science get to decide? Einstein's brain wasn't just tissue. It was him, his thoughts, his dreams, his identity. And it was taken, without consent, in the name of progress. Is that justified? Or is it just another form of theft? Dressed up in the language of discovery. In 1998, 43 years after the theft, Harvey finally returned what was left of Einstein's brain to Princeton Hospital. He was 84 years old. He'd spent nearly half his life with it. Protecting it, studying it, justifying it. And in the end, what did we learn? That genius can't be bottled. That the mind is more than the sum of its parts. That some mysteries aren't meant to be solved with scalpels and slides. Einstein once said, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious." Maybe that's the real lesson here. Not what we found in his brain, but what we lost when we tried to own it. 7 hours. That's all it took. 7 hours between death and theft. Between a man and a specimen. Between respect and obsession. And somewhere, in a jar of formaldehyde, the question still floats. Who really owned Einstein's brain?